Hello. So in this video, we are going to work with the wager for when the player guesses. So they would wager a certain amount, and then if they guess the number correctly, then they win back that amount, and then it doubles. So they get that extra amount too. Or if they get it wrong, then they just lose their wager. So that gets deducted from their coins here. So I'm going to start in the JavaScript. This will have to do with this function down here, but I'm going to need a variable to remember how many coins they have. There is this number showing up on the page here, but we need another variable to keep track of it in as a piece of data, not just the text that's on the page. So I'll make a new variable up at the top here. I'm going to say let coins equal, and 10, I guess. Notice how I put it up here, not inside of this function, because this function is going to happen every time that you click that button. So if I put it let coins equal 10 down here, then my coins would just reset to 10 every single time. So I'm going to have this outside of that function. So this happens at the beginning of the whole application. So that part doesn't get repeated because I don't want it to. So now when they make a guess, we also want to know what their wager was in this wager box here. So just like I said, let guess equal guessBox.value. I'm going to say const wager equals wagerBox.value. How do you get what a user typed from the box? Well, you take that text box as a variable and then just say dot value. That will give you what they typed in there. Now, just looking at this, I can change let guess into const because these variables get created every time the button gets clicked. So within a button clicking, I'm not changing my guess or I'm not changing my wager. They would change outside of it, but inside it's always the same number until you click you click again. All right, so now I have what they wagered here. So if they got it right, then they should win that wager back. They should keep it, I guess, but then they should also win that same amount back. So if guess is equal to random, then I can just go ahead and comment out some of these console.logs. Handling the data first, the actual variable. So the coins should increase by whatever the wager was. So now that coins value should actually go up. Else, they got it wrong, then the coins value should decrease by whatever the wager is. And I'm going to comment that console.log there. All right, so that should actually update the JavaScript value. But that's just that variable that's a number. It's not actually touching this box here. So I should turn around then and update the box based on whatever it is. Now, the step of updating the wager, or the coins box rather, is something that should always happen. So I'm not necessarily going to do that inside of an if or inside of an else. Just the fact that I need to update the coins, that's what happens anyway. So I would try to grab this piece here. I don't have that variable yet. So I go back to my index.html. This place where I said coins 10, I would want to grab that and change it. Now, I don't really want to change the word coins. It's just this number 10 right here. So if I can pinpoint it, that would be a little bit better. So I'm going to take that number 10 and surround it with a span. Open it before the number 10, close it after the number 10. Right now, that number itself is its own element, just inside of the H3. Be good to give it an ID. So span with an ID equal to quotes coins. Now this is a thing I can actually grab in my JavaScript. So go back to my JavaScript, make another reference here, const coins text is equal to document dot query selector parens quotes span hashtag coins. All right, the span with the ID of coins. That is now a JavaScript variable called coins text, so I can change that. So I'm just going to go to the bottom of this guest button on click function. So notice how I am right before this curly brace, but after the curly brace for the else. That's where I'm going to grab that, the coins text object, the span, dot inner HTML equals, lets me change what is inside of that element there, and then just set that equal to coins, whatever the actual value of the coins is. A lot of times when you change variables, you have to do this second step because you don't just want to change a JavaScript variable on the RAM. You want the page to show that to your user. So you have to follow up with this next step of updating the page, changing the HTML, or the value sometimes to be whatever that variable is. All right, so now it should be that. Looks like I misspelled something. I got an error that came up. Documentary selector is not defined. Sketch.js line 3. So I scroll up here, and yes, I mistyped a letter or something. So it should be document. That's very strange. Oh, I think I. All right, so document dot query selector. So that is spelled correctly. All right, so if I make a guess of 2, still testing with just 1 or 2, and then I wager 5 of my coins, and I guess, yep, I like that happened. So I won, and now I have 105 coins. Let's try this again. What should happen? Oh, I lost down to 100. Oh, down to 95, down to 90. And now I'm at 905. So this is a very interesting thing here. So it seemed like the subtracting the numbers was working out just fine. But adding the numbers had a very interesting behavior. And if you paid close attention, you might have noticed it was just shoving those two numbers together. It wasn't actually adding them. Now, when it went to subtract, it was working correctly. 905 minus 5 is 900, so at least that was good. But if I win again, then I get this result. It just took whatever number used to be there and just tagged on a 5 at the end of it. And that's because it's actually treating these numbers like strings, like text. Multiplying it can figure out what to do with it. But to say this right here is the addition symbol can also be used to just shove strings together. So it's treating them that way. And at the beginning, I guess I do take coins is definitely a number, but then I take wager box.value and then I add it on here. So I think that's partially what's happening. So I actually like this line of code. I don't feel like there's anything really wrong with that. A hidden aspect to this, though, is that when it's getting the value out of the text box, it's treating it like text. So no matter what it's, even though it really looks like a number, it's treating it more like the characters at the top of your keyboard key and not the actual number itself. So it just gets confused then when I say plus what to do. So I actually want to be a little more careful with const wager equals wager box.value, because the wager box.value is going to be a string that looks like a number, but I need it to act like a number. So what I can do is just use and I could look this up on that W3 Schools website. But if I could just use the parse int function, I put some text in there, then it will turn back an actual integer for me. So just take wagerbox.value. That is what gets parsed as an int, and parse just kind of means like to convert or to translate. So now wager should definitely be a number. So hopefully this will work out just fine. All right, so I lost. Looks like I won that time, and I got 10. I didn't get 105 or 55. I guess would have been the result. It's doing the math correctly now. And I have a 50-50 chance, and I'm actually doing pretty good. My numbers get pretty low. But yeah, I managed to keep going up. There tends to be a good upward trend here. But yep, all the math is happening correctly. So that the key to that was taking text and parsing it as an int, just using that parse int function here. And I keep using the word int. It's referring to an integer, a number that um, doesn't have a decimal on it. And a lot of times in programming, we just call those ints. So that is now doing the proper calculation.